Hello and welcome to Happily Ever Reality. I am so glad that you're here. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about social media and Patreon and Gwendolyn Brown. Recently she posted on Instagram that she is engaged, and what it actually says is, "I'm engaged. You can see the proposal and rings side by side on my Patreon via the link in the bio. Unless we're mutuals, of course, then send me a text. It's hilarious." And she has several photos. It appears that they walked somewhere private and they had a setup with like a blanket and candles and roses. And there's a picture of them sitting down and there is snow on the ground. And Gwendolyn is wearing a skirt. And you know what? I almost just feel cold looking at the picture, but it is very pretty. Someone was hiding away snapping photos. So you get one of the photos where it's like through the trees, but it just looks wonderful. You know what? Congratulations to Gwendolyn. And I was thinking this is a huge family. You know, all these kids in the Brown family, all these wives, it must feel like there's always something exciting going on. Like there must always feel like a wedding or a proposal or a birthday. You could have so many things to celebrate. There's so many reasons for them to get together and spend quality time together. But we all know that's not what happens. That doesn't happen with the Browns. But like there should be. Like they should have so many things to look forward to together as a family. It should have never been an issue that they weren't able to spend time together. But here we have another wedding coming up, so that is very exciting. When I saw this, I realized that I have heard about Gwendolyn Brown having a Patreon, and I wanted to go and see what it was about, and I've never used Patreon, so I went over there. She has a $2 tip jar, $2 tip jar, and then it's like $5, $10, $15. It goes up in tiers. As the price goes up, you can be more involved in like asking questions and seeing exclusives. You know, the tiers go up and you get more things. But I went ahead and joined, and I have to tell you, it was 100% worth it. Like, it's worth it. If you have a few bucks to spare each month and you're a Sister Wives fan, I 100% recommend this. The one thing that made this so good is that Gwendolyn doesn't hide away and shy away from the questions that I think we often want them to answer on the show. Like when I watch the tell-alls with Sister Wives, I'm always like, why is no one asking what I want them to ask, or why are they getting away with not answering? But Gwendolyn just goes ahead and answers the question. So I 100% recommend this. I'm not going to tell everything that she said because this is her bread and butter, like this is her money. So go and subscribe to it if you have a few bucks to spare. I promise it's pretty darn good, so go for it. But I am going to talk about just a few things that really stood out to me. Okay, so before I get started, I just want you to know that I'm holding a piece of paper because I took notes, so you might hear it moving around. I am going to try to keep it quiet. But this was from her Q&A on November 13th. The one thing that really surprised me is that she says being on the show was one of the best things that ever happened to her family. That is incredibly rare to hear someone who's been on reality TV say. Like, I'm not saying it never happens, but this family's had negative things aired on television. Usually then people start saying, I wish I hadn't done this. If I knew how it was going to turn out, I wouldn't have done it. But she says it's the best thing that ever happened to them. And it also like extended their family because they all got close to the crew. So I thought that was really interesting. That was the one thing that didn't kind of align with what I would have thought. But otherwise, I will let you guys know, most of the stuff that she said actually confirms what we already think. Like an example of this is she talked about how Robin has a way of twisting what people say to make it appear that she is a victim. So she's going to manipulate people's words to sort of make it appear that they're not treating her well. And one of the common things was to make it appear that the kids and the wives weren't including her and her children as a part of the family. I'm like, I think most of us as viewers, we have thought that when we watch it, but now we have like true confirmation. And Gwendolyn is very clear with her answers. She's not trying to be like sly or hide away from things. She just says it. Another thing she talked about is how they don't really confront each other. The family doesn't like confrontation. So when people, like viewers like myself, I'm talking about myself here, I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, I get very annoyed because I feel like they talk to each other but they don't actually say what needs to be said, so we hear the same conversation sort of happening over and over, and there's no real action because they never got to what the actual issue was. She says this is true. This family doesn't like confrontation, so a lot of times no one will really call the other person out. They don't want to burn bridges or upset anyone, so they just don't confront each other. Another thing was, goodness. Okay, so she talked about coming out, and Robin sort of told her after she came out she should have saved it for the cameras. Yeah, so I'm not going to say a whole lot more about that. Definitely go over to her Patreon. You'll know how Gwendolyn feels. Yeah, so Gwendolyn says she has a lot of anxiety. She had it a lot growing up. She says she felt like they moved a lot before she was on the show, so she doesn't actually have a lot of memories from before when the show began. So the show really did change their lives. One of the things that was interesting was someone asked a question about the divorce and Cody and Christine, and Cody making accusations that Christine was turning all of the children against him. And we all know that's not true. We all know that, right? So Gwendolyn agreed, like, that's not true. But she actually took it a little bit further and said that she felt like when her mom was with Cody, she actually just felt, she thought less of her mother. So I wonder if, like, she didn't go a lot into it, but maybe seeing this, her mom being in a bad relationship and staying in it, made her sort of see her mom as maybe being, you know, I don't want to say weak, but maybe not as strong as she could be. Like, she saw her mom being held back from who she could be, and that made her just think a little bit less of her mom. And again, those were her words. She thought less of her mom. I don't want to sound like I'm saying that. But I also imagine her, you know, if you're in a bad relationship, you start to change. If you feel sad all the time, you change. If you're angry all the time, you're a changed person. Even when you're not with the person that's made you angry or sad. So Christine is a great mom, and I don't think she was angry at her kids or sad around her kids all the time, but she was a slightly different person with them because of that sadness and anger she had with Cody. At least I think that's true. I think that's true for everyone. So I'm not saying this about specifically Christine, but if you're angry and sad all the time, you change a little bit. You change who you are in the world to everyone. So I hope that, you know, her relationship with her mom is better. I hope Christine feels better. So yeah, that was the first Q&A, and I just 100%, I think if you have the money and you're a fan of the show, it is worth it. Go and do it. Yeah, it was just refreshing to see someone actually answer the questions and not avoid them. So I'm going to go listen to the second Q&A, and I'll be back. I have some bad news. There's no second Q&A. I had saw her post where she was taking questions for the second Q&A, and I sort of jumped to the conclusion it must have already been posted, like the video of her answering the questions, but it hasn't been posted yet. So I am going to be looking forward to that. She also said she's going to be doing some reaction videos to the episodes of the show. I think that will be really interesting to watch, but I also wonder if it's going to be emotional for her to do because there's so much going on in the family this season. I just wonder if it's hard to watch and then also share what you're thinking about it all very publicly. I wonder if this is going to be hard for her to do. But as far as the Patreon goes, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see. So, yeah, so there's going to be reaction videos and Q&As, and then she does have some other videos already posted, but they're just related to her personal life, and they're sort of an extension of her Instagram account. Like, you see a photo, but then you get to see the video on Patreon. So, like, she shares a photo of her ring over there. I will tell you, in her Instagram post, she says, it's hilarious. So I was like, well, I wonder what's hilarious about your ring. It is definitely a non-traditional ring. So it wasn't what I expected. So she shares a photo of that. She shares a video of the proposal, some videos of them traveling to go see Christine and the family for Thanksgiving. She also, what does she have? She has a video with Christine. and they are in the car. And Christine is just sort of being like a mom, like telling her to drive safe and talking about the grandkids. So it's just cute, like cute kind of family moments and nice moments with Gwendolyn, but it's less related to Sister Wives. So I do think most of the people subscribing are subscribing to hear more and get more info about the show. So I hope I see more of that as well as her more personal posts and videos. But I did enjoy it. So if you got a few bucks, like I said, you might think it's worth it. So go over to Patreon and check that out. If you haven't already, click like and subscribe here on Happily Ever Reality, and let me know if you have went over to her Patreon. What did you think about all of that? And what do you think about what the other kids say publicly about Cody and the family? Yeah, let me know in the comments.